Hello and welcome to this episode of the Arts Overlook. I'm your host, Chris Bowden. Each episode highlights the arts and entertainment of the Cedar Valley. Parades have always been a long-standing tradition in our culture, and everyone knows that if you have a parade, you have to have a marching band. This episode of the Arts Overlook features the most famous band in the land and their recent trip overseas to celebrate the new year. This edition of the Arts Overlook starts right now.
Art is thriving in the Cedar Valley. It's everywhere. But if you don't know where to look, you could miss it. This is your local arts perspective. This is the Arts Overlook.
As a former student of UNI, I can safely say it's impossible to miss seeing or hearing the UNI Panther Marching Band. With rehearsals beginning before the school year even starts, the band puts in hours of effort each year to bring excellent shows to UNI and the Cedar Falls community. With an army of students, amazing sound, popular arrangements, and plenty of dance moves, the rest of the world has started to take notice. The band recently returned from England after being invited to perform in the London New Year's Day Parade, one of the country's largest events of the year. Let's take a look at the UNI Panther Marching Band in London. The UNI Panther Marching Band has made quite a name for themselves this past year. On top of being the largest band in school history at 330 members, the band was invited to perform as a part of the 2015 London New Year's Day Parade. Taking off shortly after Christmas, the band had an unforgettable adventure across the pond.
It was a great trip from start to finish. I can't think of any thing that would have made it a better trip. We had great weather, all of our flights were on time, the students that went had a terrific experience over there, and so it was worth every bit of effort that it took to get us over there.
A selection committee consisting of musicians from the United States and members of the parade committee in London recommend a select number of bands to perform each year. With their selection, the band received an official invitation in a special and unique way.
Last spring, the former Lord Mayor of London came to campus with the director of the London New Year's Day Parade and presented a formal invitation for us to perform in the parade. And it was great to have him here. The students got to take their picture with him, and he was able to talk a little bit about the parade and the city of London and the things that they were going to get to do on their trip. So it was a pleasure to host them here.
Upon accepting their invitation, it was then up to band members to choose whether or not they wanted to invest in traveling to London for themselves. With this being the PMB's first international trip, many students had little hesitation.
I remember when he told us, Dr. G, I was like, I'm going. I'll make it work. I'm just going. I decided, I didn't even ask my mom. I'm like, hey, I'm going to London. So I just remember that was really excited for me. I was really excited just to get that opportunity. And I just knew that going on a trip with 100 plus of my favorite people, that was something that was I couldn't waste that opportunity. So having that opportunity meant the world to me at that moment, just to be able to have that, just be given, because I don't have a reason to go to London every day. I wish I did, but that was a great reason to be able just to go out there and be with some of the people I love the most.
I was kind of thinking about it as man, this would be really great to go on. It's going to cost money, but the thing for me is that when's the next time I'm going to be able to march in this parade? Especially with people that I'm just absolute best friends with. And I was I have to hop on this. I can't let this just pass me by because I'll regret it the rest of my life. And so for me, it was I really wanted to spend the time with my friends and just be a part of a really great ensemble and tour internationally. So that's really what drew me to it when I first heard about it. And I was I have to make this happen. Regardless of the cost, I need to go.
With parents, faculty, staff, and 180 students, the process of getting 220 members of Panther Nation to London was no easy task.
It was a massive undertaking just in terms of airline tickets and busing and meals and hotel, and so just our sheer numbers presented some things to overcome as far as organizing the trip. We were not able to charter a plane where we could all be on the same airplane, and so they split us into 5 different flights. Some left from Minneapolis, some left from Chicago, and so each student was assigned to a flight group or to a flight, and they had a time that they met here at the Gallagher Blue Dorn Performing Arts Center, and we had a bus waiting for their group, and we took them to whichever airport they were supposed to go out of. And so we did have to split the band up since it was such a large group. and then we reconvened at the hotel in London, and so it made for some good jokes, you know, at the end of exam week, where we'd run into students and say, well, the next time I'll see you will be in London, you know, even though it was 2 or 3 weeks away. We would just say, see you in London, and that's exactly what happened. We'd see in the hotel when we got there that day, and so it was a big group to take, 5 flights and 4 or 5 buses or coaches when we were in London. But one of the nice things about this group of students is that they're just some of the best students that I've ever worked with in my whole career, and they just rose to the occasion at every single turn. And taking this group to London has been one of the greatest things I've ever done in my entire career and in my entire life. They just whatever challenges would present themselves with taking such a big group were easily overcome because of the way the students respond to things here, and so it was just a great pleasure to take them on this trip.
Upon arriving in London, students had the opportunity to explore and take in the culture when not rehearsing for the parade.
Well, they had day trips many of the days. So they had a bus tour of London, and then they had some time at the Tower of London in the afternoon. The next day they had a half day at Windsor Castle and a half day at Hampton Court Palace. And then on Friday of the trip, a couple days later, we took a longer trip outside of London to Stonehenge, and then had lunch in the town of Bath, and were able to visit the Roman baths. And so most of the days consisted of a day trip like that, but just before dinner time, all the tours and small traveling was over, so they had the whole evening free to be with their friends and eat dinner and see shows and kind of explore the city. And then they did have a couple of free days in there where they could do whatever they want. And I heard from students, you know, they were able to really take in what London has to offer. They went to Westminster Abbey, or they went to the British Museum, or they went to the Natural History Museum, and so they really seemed to get into the culture that was there. In fact, I remember running into students at the British Museum, and they were excited because they had just seen the Rosetta Stone, which is on the first floor, and they saw the statues from Easter Island in the museum, and it was just a neat experience to see the students being excited about the culture that they were experiencing there.
There was so many things going on all the time, and so much to see and so much to do, and I think there was a very interesting dichotomy of the historical things and such a vast history of things from so long ago that we read about in history textbooks and everything else, to the very modern, you know, billboards and skyscrapers and things, and they're all just mixed together. It's very interesting to see.
It's completely different from America, but still has a lot of like the same qualities. One of the things that really kind of struck me was the fact that a lot of what's there is just small shops. Like, it's not like big department stores like you would see like a Walmart or anything. It's all just like little small areas, like restaurants only seat like 30 people. It's just really close-knit and like feels a little bit more homey than, say, most places here in America.
A majority of our trip was just being able to explore and go do other activities, which was so important, I think, and that was what made the trip so great, was having you know, the time to be with the band, and then also having time to be with the band in other aspects. Just going out and just finding a restaurant called the Italian Place, or like just going, you know, finding like just a place to eat, to hang out for a bit, or finding a new building that just, you know, sparks your interest. That was really cool. And to have, you know, half days to go out and explore was, to me, like the coolest part. Like, that was just great.
In order to prepare for such a large and high-profile event, the band began rehearsing early in the fall in conjunction with their halftime performances during football season.
In terms of rehearsals, we worked on marching and parade marching because that wasn't really anything that we had done a whole lot of.
Here on campus, we had not had a homecoming parade for several years, and this year they finally brought back the homecoming parade, and so that was a good chance for us back in September, I think, or early September, early in the fall at least, to get some parade performance down before we went to London. And then after the last football game was over, we just switched to doing all parade stuff. So luckily we had the homecoming parade to kind of get us ready for it. But the students here have done a lot of parades before, and they seem to kind of fit naturally into the parade marching, the parade performance. And we tried to do some things that were unique. We tried to do some dancing and some singing and chanting and involving some audience. The audience members, we had sousaphones running up and down the parade route, letting little kids touch their instruments and wishing people Happy New Year and things like that. And they stopped and sang along the route, or they danced here and there along the parade route as well. So it was an exciting thing to be able to transition to move from our halftime performance, a frame of mind, and try to fit that into the parade format. Was kind of fun to do. Another challenge of the trip is that we had to ship our instruments over to London the week of exams, and so the students didn't have their instruments to practice on for a good 2 or 3 weeks. But you arrive on the Thursday of our trip after not having played your instrument for a while, and they just sparked. It was just a lot of electricity there. And if there's one thing that the students in the UNI band can do, it's perform, and that's what they did for a good hour and a half along the parade route. And so it was fun to see the students light up like that, and it was fun to see the audience respond in the way that they did.
The annual event brings together nearly 10,000 performers from around the world for a TV audience of 300 million people. To put it in perspective, the parade boasts twice as many participants as the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And as the event began, it's clear they didn't disappoint.
The parade was fantastic. It was almost exactly as it had been described to us when we first accepted the invitation, where they said that there would be rows of people, 7 or 8 rows deep along the parade, and that was exactly the way it was. In fact, the audience just spilled over. There was even an audience before we got to the starting line of the parade, and there was an audience even after we were done that was excited to see us, even though we were starting and ending at that time. But the audience just seemed to spill into the streets, and it was a great audience to play for. You would turn and watch the band and see just 100 hands in the air holding a cell phone videotaping the band's performance. And so I think that it was a fantastic performance experience for us, with a huge audience that seemed really receptive to what we did.
I happened to be on the far right hand side of the band as we were marching, and so I got really up close and personal with some of the people just on the sidelines, and they were all just smiling. They all had their phones and cameras out. Half the audience was recording what we were doing, and they were really digging the music that we were playing, and they were getting into it, and they would cheer for us. It was just, they actually genuinely cared that we came to London to perform for them. And it was just so rewarding from a musician standpoint, because not every audience that you perform for does that. And we're very lucky to, here at UNI, we have a really great student section, a really great crowd in the Unidome who really loves what we do as a band. And to see that transfer over to a city of people who've never seen or heard us before is just amazing.
It was really neat to kind of just look over to the side and see the people getting so excited about what was going on. And little kids would stick out their hands and give them high fives as you're going along. And there would be some times where we would pause and turn, and so I was right on the front. And some of the people kind of started with, not unhappy expressions, but kind of neutral expressions, and it was interesting to see how excited they got as our performance progressed and how much the energy just really appealed to them as well.
I was a little worried because I'm carrying the 60+ bass drum, and I was really worried, but none of it, nothing was wrong. It was perfect. Everything was great. The crowd was awesome. There was so much adrenaline, and there's always confetti in the air. It was just that perfect moment that you would think of that London parade was the epitome of any parade you'd ever want to go to. It was perfect. You were marching through downtown London. It was the best. And I can't pick a part of the parade, but I just remember the first time where we played one of our songs and the whole crowd went wild. It was great. So the atmosphere was the best part.
Right when we finished the parade and we ran off the TV spot area, and I was just looking around at all the members around me. We're all in uniform, and we're just the biggest smiles that you've ever seen. And it's just, everyone was so just happy with what we had just done and how we had just performed. It's just, everyone was feeling pure joy, and we were all living in the moment together as a group, and it was just amazing.
While the marching band knows how to perform, they also know how to build community. Throughout the trip, students enjoyed spending time together and building memories that will last far beyond their college experience.
Just being with the people that you love and doing anything almost is worthwhile. It's hard to even think back on the memories already, because the week seemed so quick. I wish I was there for longer, but it was such a great experience. And that I love traveling, so that was like just the best part of my year so far already. So it was a great experience.
The takeaway for me was actually like spending all the time with my friends, just touring a city that I've never been in before.
Just from beginning to end, it was nonstop awesome experiences. I really enjoyed the parade especially because that's something that I wouldn't get to do if I was traveling just as a tourist. And it was just a really amazing experience to get to be part of that and to be doing that with some of my best friends.
They're just the most intelligent people. They're the friendliest people. They work so well together. They work so hard to create this family atmosphere, and you can really tell. I can tell it when I just watch them from where I stand during rehearsals, or I can tell you know, when I read the things that they write on Facebook or before rehearsal and after rehearsal, just how kind they are to each other. The relationship that our staff and students have together is so special.
For over 120 years, the UNI Panther Marching Band has been entertaining audiences in the Cedar Valley, and their performance in London offered a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for those involved and a platform for the pride of Panther Nation to represent the University of Northern Iowa to a whole new audience. And if one thing is clear from everyone involved, it's that
London was fantastic.
It was amazing.
Unfathomable. It was great.
London was amazing.
I have two favorite memories from the trip. One was right at the end of the parade, seeing the excitement from our students and the way that the students were coming up and saying how much fun they had performing for the audience, and even saying, you know, that they wished that we would take the coach back to the starting line and do the parade all over again. You know, they were so energized and so full of adrenaline that they wanted to do that performance over again, and seeing how much they bond together like a team, and what they got out of that performance, I think, was really special. But my second favorite memory, I guess, just happened all week, and it would be that every time I saw a student in the lobby of the hotel or at a tourist site or wherever we were, they just seemed so excited to be there. They seemed so happy with everything that happened on the trip. And so talking to them and hearing what they learned from their experience there was tremendously valuable, and I think it made all of the work that we put into the trip worth it. One thing that I'm very appreciative of is the kind of trust that the students and the staff put in me to help organize this trip, and the kind of assistance that they gave to me, that how they all rose to the occasion to make this trip a special experience, I think is very unique, and it makes me thankful to be able to work with these people.
The fact that we can bring music to so many people and light up their lives, like, that's what we play music for, and to do it as part of the PMB is even better.
brilliant, guys.
After that, I can't wait to see what they have planned for next year. If you'd like to see the Panther Marching Band for yourself, make sure you make your way to a UNI football game next fall, or check out many of their previous performances on YouTube. Just search UNI Panther Marching Band. Thank you to Danny Galyen and the band for helping us gain an inside look at your experience. That's all for this episode of the Arts Overlook. I'm Chris Bowden. Thank you for watching, and go Panthers!